What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Double Coverage, the premier NFL podcast of the Gin Sports Network. I'm your host, John J. II, alongside our NFL expert slash guru, Robert Rocco. Rocco, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. I think we're safe to say we're up to our knees deep in this NFL season, which is upon us and is flying by. Every day that goes by, it seems like the games are coming quicker. And I guess what have you thought about this NFL season thus far? What are your takeaways?
Yeah, I think it's been a good season so far. It's cool I know this isn't the way like the league wants to be going, but it's been cool to see some pretty dominant defensive performances. You think obviously the Eagles Packers game, a 10-7 game, which turned into a total shit show at the end, which is a whole nother story. But um, it's been kinda cool to see, like, defense coming back a little bit. Over the last couple years, like, running backs have really come back as far as, their importance in, just the team as a whole for wins. You go and look back last year, last couple years with Barkley and the Eagles, and then obviously the Lions got the two-headed monster. Um, Jonathan Taylor just popping off this year, potential MVP right now. And they're sitting at 8-2 with Danny Dimes. So it just shows how important having a good offensive line, some good defense, and a run game is still important to winning the whole thing. Um, I think some of the best teams ever, that's how they were built, right? You go back and look at the Patriots. They had a really good offense, obviously, with Brady, but they also had really good defense that you could argue and early in his career carried him to wins. So it's been cool to see all of that kind of come full circle. You still have, obviously, the rules are bended to modern NFL as far as just, receivers, being able to hardly be touched by the defensive back through the route, and that sort of thing. But overall, it's been cool as a football purist, I guess I'd say. It's been cool to see defensive run game come back a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned though the routes that are ran from the wide receivers. I guess, do you know the rule on when can they be contacted? I think it's within the first 5 yards, right? And then after that, regardless of the ball has been thrown or not, they're kind of like they can't be touched. Because if they're running their route, they got to have the opportunity to occupy the spot without being impeded. I guess, what does the rule say, and how can it work in practice? What can you do to put it in layman's terms for the average viewer?
Really, it comes down to the officiating crew because sometimes they just let them ball, right? I mean, they'll let them all be hands fighting the whole time. Like you'll see, all right, PI not called, PI not called, PI not called. They're not calling offensive defensive holding sometimes. Like it really depends on the crew, and they still leave it pretty open to interpretation. But yeah, if there's contact down the field, they're way more likely to throw the flag today than they were in the past. So, but that's also created a double-edged sword to that too, right? So because that's become the norm to throw those flags when they're not called, it's almost just as impactful as when they are called because people are expecting that flag, and they'll actually draw up plays to draw a flag. Like if it's 3rd and 20 yards, right? I mean, do you have a high chance of getting that conversion? Not really, but you do have a pretty solid chance of somebody holding on to Chase or Justin Jefferson or somebody streaking down the field. That defensive back's going to be holding on for dear life because they know they got to get 20 yards. So that's where they're going to get some big penalty yardage out of it.
Wow, I never thought about that. That offensive coordinators are drawing up plays to likely, and I guess unless it's a breakaway or you burn the guy, it could also work out in a long gain through
Yep.
the air. So it kind of it's like a dual front attack with possibly drawing the flag or getting a big gain through the air. So wow, I never thought about that. That they'd be trying to actually potentially draw a penalty, but it makes
Yeah.
sense when you think about it.
The QB's got to be aware too, right? I mean, he's got to obviously at least get the ball in their vicinity because if it's uncatchable, then they can't throw the flag or they'll pick the flag up if it was an uncatchable ball. So, QB's got to be aware. But Stafford used to do that a lot when he was in Detroit. Like they would throw the ball down the field on a 3rd and long. Obviously, they had Calvin Johnson and all these weapons, but um, even just to or give it a chance at getting that flag, they would throw it down the field and get it more often than not.
Yeah, that's interesting. But just looking at the NFL, as like you said, you mentioned Jonathan Taylor, you mentioned Danny Dimes, which him and 8-2 being in the same sentence is
Yeah.
kind of sounds crazy to me. But damn, more power to them. The Colts are the truth. It's hard to really think about that. Since Andrew Luck and even before that, since the Peyton Manning era, the Colts really haven't been on the map. So to see them on the map again, they're kind of still unsung heroes, I think, in a lot of ways, just because nobody expects that from them. But we're going to see how their team can pay dividends to the rest of the league by showing their prowess against some of the other best teams in the
Yeah.
league. Let's talk about my Buffalo Bills real quick, just because I want to touch on them. And I mean, I got Mike
What do
McDonald
you want to
driving
touch
through this.
on?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here, and I won't bore the audience with a lot of it. But just looking at the lackluster offense, the defense getting, we can say they got blown out by one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think that's fair to say. Then you got Mike McDonald driving through the streets of Miami, uh, acting like a jackass.
That was the cherry on top. Like
That
you're
was the cherry on top. Right, exactly. That was the cherry on top that we deserved as Bills fans, Bills Mafia. We deserved that. But just the prowess that we see, the success we see in flashes, where it used to be guaranteed, even through the first couple games, 4 or 5 games of the season, it seemed like it was automatic for Buffalo to put up some good points. James Cook was going to put up some good numbers. Josh Allen was going to get some good numbers in fantasy, and the receivers were eating all over the place. Now it's like, what version of the Bills are we going to get? And that's kind of not what we expect from the Josh Allen era of the Buffalo Bills. So, can you explain to me what the hell's going on? I got to look at this through the positive Robert Rocco lens,
I am
because
an
I'm
optimist.
struggling right
You
now.
you got to be an optimist as a Lions fan. So
That's true.
you got to give me that. I mean, it's been a long time before we've been relevant.
That's true.
Um, but I mean, you look at the stats, like it's not terrible. I mean, your running back James Cook was averaging 4 a carry. You like to see more than 53 yards, obviously, but it's hard to run the ball when you're behind um,
Right.
all game. And then Josh Allen, you look at his stats: 28 to 40, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, that doesn't seem bad. You look at their defense. They picked off Tua twice. It's almost like without if you ignore the fact that Achan had 174 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and 51 yards through the air, if they could have limited him, I mean, they would have won by a landslide. It feels like because they could have got back to the run game, leaned on James Cook a little more. Um, Obviously, the turnover doesn't help. That's just even though you only threw 1 pick, I mean, that's a huge momentum shift type of thing, right? If you're already down or even if you are leading to throw that interception. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of par for the course with the Bills, it seems like, right? I mean, they beat a lot of good teams. They lose to teams they probably shouldn't to once in a while. And they just never feel like that complete dominant team. Like you want to see them come out and just crush Miami is what you wanted as a Bills fan. You wanted to see a 40 to zip or something.
Right.
And for them to come out and not only lose but also shit the bed in the process, that's tough to swallow. Um, I mean, you really got to rally the troops. They need a number one receiver. I mean, they've needed a number one receiver for a long time. Shakir, Coleman, all these guys have not stepped up, right? I mean, they have not been this perennial 100-yard receiver type guys. So what do you do, man? I mean, you really are still putting all your eggs in the Josh Allen basket, and you want to be able to run the ball, James Cook. And as soon as you get away, if Josh isn't on his game, he has a couple turnovers, then you could be in trouble.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like kind of uh, it, they're turning to Josh Allen, waiting for the Josh Allen show. The wide receivers are a wide receiver crew by committee, with leader by committee. So it's just not it, and they're falling short to these teams, losing to teams like they shouldn't be, two teams they shouldn't lose to. And I guess to point out some of the stats that you mentioned, on paper, it doesn't sound terrible. It really
No.
doesn't sound like catastrophic. But you look for the majority of that game, they were down. They were down the whole game, and down by a lot. They're lucky they clawed into the lead from Miami a little bit. But damn, I mean, they dominated that game, and that's something we haven't seen from Miami the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, they've had some explosiveness with Achan just because he's on my fantasy team, so I've gotten to see some big games. But that was the biggest. I mean, he had 40 fantasy points this week. Um, but he's explosive, man. I mean, I'm kind of surprised Miami is that terrible. I mean, with that kind of offensive weapon, um, really, it's around Tua not playing well, right? I mean, 2 picks yet again, even in a big win. So
Right.
I if you don't look at the records and you actually looked at the team and some of the talent they each have, like maybe it's a little bit less of a shock. Um, but
Okay.
you didn't see with the Bills coming in and just laying an egg like that. At least I didn't.
No,
Um,
me neither. And I guess it's somewhat, even disregarding the records, there's somewhat of an aura behind both of these teams. Miami's isn't that good, not backed by a lot of success in the last year or two. And then the Bills, on the other hand, is wrapped around that aura of a lot of success, a lot of explosive offense, battling from behind, winning games they probably shouldn't be winning, kind of on the flip side of the coin, and fighting from behind and making something out of nothing. That's
yep.
what the Bills are. So when they fall short and fall on their face and they don't have any leg to stand on, it's really concerning, especially when you're looking into the postseason. And then you're thinking, as John McDermott and a lot of Bills fans, we don't really have much to show for it. For the good times, for the
Yeah.
proud the proud days of being a Buffalo Bill, there's not a lot to show for it, even when things were good.
Yeah, I mean, 4 straight Super Bowl losses, I don't think it's ever gonna happen again. Um,
Right,
going all the way back through their history, it's like they had
right.
so much talent and to just not get over the hump. Um, it's almost you can kinda compare them to the Lions in that sense,
Oh,
right?
very
I mean,
similar to the Lions in a lot of ways.
I mean, they had some down years, and obviously they've historically been better than the Lions over the long term as far as win record and all that, but I mean, they have the same amount of championships as the Lions over the last several decades, so
That's right.
at the end of the day, who cares about your record if you're not winning it?
That's right, exactly. That's why we have to look more macro than micro, but you can look macro, micro, whatever you want to do. You got to win football games and you got to have something to show for it, regardless of your record, regardless of who you have on your team, regardless of who's the coach, etc. The list goes on and on. You got to be putting banners up to have anything to say uh, in the years ahead. So we'll leave that at that. Hopefully, they can find some success in the coming weeks to build themselves up, rebuild morale, because that's what it is mostly about at this time of year. You're battling injuries, you're weathering the storm. How are you going to prevail when the going really gets tough here in a couple weeks? Well, it's a little longer than that, but it'll be here before we know it. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about Antonio Brown. Obviously, he is in the headlines again.
When isn't
And
he?
I mean, when isn't he? I mean, say it, Rocco. Just tell me what he represents.
Uh,
And we all know.
yeah, they're gonna obviously, they can't really diagnose CTE yet until you're dead, so there's a downside there, but he's gonna be the poster child for CTE after he's gone. Um, you look at the before and after, it's like a switch flipped and he became a psycho overnight. I mean, we never used to hear anything out of the Steelers organization other than let's go win football games. They had Mike Tomlin, they had Le'Veon Bell, Roethlisberger. I mean, they had studs. They were winning games. I mean, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever. Every single year, it seems like they were leading the league. Um, but, they didn't really get over the hump either. So with that squad, Roethlisberger won before all those guys came. They got close a couple times, but yeah, that hit by Perfect, just a different guy altogether after that. And he's denying it, teammates are denying it, people that are close to him deny it, and some of his recent teammates, even, like, when he had that little stint with the Raiders and then obviously Tampa Bay where he just, like, threw his clothes off and walked off the field half naked, um, even his teammates then were like, "He's not a bad guy, he's a great teammate," and they all actually said that he practiced really well, like, he would be the first in, last out. Obviously, he was ripped, dude. I mean, he's one of the most jacked receivers of all time, and, you look at his stats, he is one of the best receivers of all time. You can't even deny it. Even with all this stuff that's happened, statistically, he is easily one of the best receivers ever. And to see him turn into this really is kind of sad. You see like this kind of level of talent. Um, a guy who actually has some roots here in Michigan. He played for CMU. Um, to see that downfall is kind of sad. And really, I mean, he pissed all his money away already, right? I mean, he tried to buy a team, like a semi-pro football team or something for a little while, and uh, mansions and all this stuff, which is a lot more common than the whole CTE thing. But yeah, it's just the whole thing's just kind of sad. Like he could have been somebody that's hung around the league and become a staple of charity events and kind of become an ambassador for the game of football, running camps with kids and everything and being that positive role model. But now everyone looks at him like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, it really begs the question. He had so much that he could have built his career into, like you said, even the post-career stuff with camps and you could even go off and write a book, and then you got book signings, and then you got conferences, TED Talks. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then you could step into a role even beyond that, or whilst doing all that, step into a commentator role with any of the major sports networks. So a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of wasted talent. There's a lot of ways to put it. I mean, CTESPN, if they came out with another movie talking about concussions, it might be Concussion 2, starring Will Smith and Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's an
honestly.
opportunity to find his way, but I don't know. So there's a lot of things going on. Attempted murder charge just adds to the sandwich of problems, issues that you're now dealing with, that you're now faced with. And that's not even to speak on some of the crazy things that he did as he was leaving. Like you said, when he was leaving the game, playing for the Bucks, and even in the years following that, it seems like he's always in headlines in some capacity. When you don't hear about him, don't hear from him for a while. Don't worry, he'll be back in the news to have something be said about him. And it hasn't been positive the last several times we've heard from him. So
Yeah, I mean, he's
I don't know.
he's self-sabotaged his own legacy. It's hard to see him going into the Hall of Fame now even with that stuff
Right?
going on. I mean,
Yeah.
why would they wanna put him in the hall even with all his great stats when all he's done I mean, he exposed himself in a hot tub. I mean, he's just been a complete piece of shit since he left. I mean, I don't know what the deal is other than CTE. I mean, there's some mental disability thing going on here. It's not a normal human activity to do all this stuff. So you
Right.
just look at it holistically and you're like, why is he doing it? Well, there isn't a reason. He doesn't even know why he's fucking doing it because he's
Yeah.
got brain damage, literal brain
Mhm.
damage.
Absolutely. Irreversible.
Yeah.
It sounds like. So we wish him all the best. Hopefully, he can find recovery, find peace at some point, and maybe he can salvage something with that Antonio Brown name of his. So we'll see what happens. Moving on, let's talk about your Detroit Lions, Rocco. Obviously, coming off a big win. I called it a revenge win in the green room to the Washington Commanders slash Redskins. We'll call them the Redskins because I think they're going to be changing the name back very soon. Just it's for the historical value. I mean, you're taking away. You came in with that name. Not to go. We're not going off a tangent with this. Uh, but you took that away from the Native Americans, which it was named after, and their logo was after a major chief.
Yep.
How could you do that? You know?
Yeah. It was cool, man. I love the logo. I mean, maybe the team colors were kind of whack, but Yeah, I miss the old team logo and name and all that. I think that's definitely gonna come back, but
Yeah, I think it will. But anyway, a big revenge win. Obviously, no Jaden Daniels makes it a little bit different for the Detroit Lions. Not quite as sweet as it could have been. But tell me about this win. It looked like a very dominant win from the Lions.
well, the key thing to know is obviously Campbell taking over the play calling. Now, that's all that everyone's been talking about. He had the play call sheet. He was wearing the glasses on the sideline, calling the plays. He said he had a lot of input from Morton and all the position coaches, but at the end of the day, it looked like a completely different offense because it was. Somebody else was calling the plays, and even the Detroit Lions social media shared a post about JMO getting the ball this week, and they say the fans no ball was the only comment they said on there. And we've been saying that all year. It's like you got JMO, throw him a slant, throw him a hitch route. You don't have to throw it down the field and have this long developing play action pass to JMO, which even with Ben Johnson, that's really all they utilized him for at times was just a long deep ball. And when you got a new offensive line and everyone's hurt, like you're not going to always have that time. So getting him the ball and space and letting him work is exhibit A of what the offense can do, you know? And then obviously Gibbs had a historical night again. I mean, he had 3 tuds. But yeah, it's all, and it all circles around Jared Goff too and his ability to play. They protected him well. Um, Delivered the ball to a bunch of different receivers. Seems like they got everybody involved. Running game was doing good. Defense was playing solid. You would like to see him done a little better than letting over 20 points up to Mariota and that bum offense. But I mean, if it's a closer game, you're starting to look at like, man, our defense needs to step it up. But when you blow them out, it seems to not matter. And maybe that gets into your head too as a defender. Like maybe I don't got to go 112% when we're up 30 points in the fourth quarter or
That's
something.
a shame, though, don't you think? Just
You
a
would,
little bit,
yeah, you
because
shouldn't
you
think
should
like that.
expect to stay fresh as possible, because you're going to come to a point in the season where you're not going to be able to fluff off and have a leg to stand on, which is your offense, which is excelling beyond belief and doing a great job in any given game. But yeah, it almost seems like they do that a little bit. I've seen them do it before. It looked like they did that even in the Ravens game,
Yeah,
going back a couple weeks. You could kind of tell that last touchdown the Ravens got. It's almost like they gave it to them,
yeah,
and yeah, I noticed that too.
yeah. So I mean, to their credit, I mean, they like all their starting corners have been hurt all year, so they've been throwing out a bunch of bums at corner. And like as much as the fan base and everyone gave them shit for not going out and getting another defensive end, I mean, they've been top 5 in sacks almost all year. So they've been getting pressure, uh, making it a little easier on their backup secondary. But when you're losing people like Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch was out for a couple weeks, and we just got Aleem McNeil back, and um, they lost Davenport and some other guys early in the year, so it's kind of like they're finally getting some good players back, especially McNeil. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, so having him back was noticeable on the defense. They're supposed to get Rodriguez, the linebacker, back soon, and cornerback Reed's supposed to come back before the season's out as well. So, um, yeah, they can't lose too many more pieces though, right? I mean, they've lost all their depth and then some, especially in the secondary and their offensive line. I mean, if you looked at a couple plays, or not a couple plays, couple quarters really last week, like their entire offensive line were backups. They had a new center in there, they had new guards. Everyone was getting out hurt temporarily. Sewell came back in with a taped up ankle. Decker's been in and out of the lineup all year. So it's all about health now. I mean, you look at a team like San Francisco is one I'll always bring up because talent level wise, one of the best teams in the league, but they can never stay healthy. I don't know what it is. If it's just they got injury prone players, they got a bad training regimen, something. You don't want to see the Lions turn into that. Hopefully last year was a one off thing, and then we can go into the playoffs healthy. Because last year, I mean, as much as they got blown out by the Commanders, you can really chalk it up to injuries too, because their defense couldn't do anything against the Commanders last year. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting with the Lions. Just stay healthy. You obviously got to play the Eagles on primetime Sunday, but then they have the Giants. The Packers have looked suspect. The Cowboys are up and down. The Rams obviously are really good. It's probably the best team they got left in their Lions schedule. And they got Steelers, Vikings, Bears to end the game. So those last 2 weeks could decide the division, right? I mean, the Bears are a surprise 6-3. I don't think they're for real yet. I think they could squeak into a wild card. But I think the Lions and the Packers are a better team than the Bears. I just think that they've been resilient. They've had some last minute wins and whatnot. Um, so yeah, it's not an easy cakewalk. The Lions, everyone knows that the Lions are good, right? So they're going to bring their A game, and yeah, it's tough sledding here these last several weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned the NFC North slightly a little bit. I mean, this is probably the most even keel, best all around NFC North that we've seen in a long time. I mean, you look at it across the board: Packers solid, Vikings solid, maybe dealing with a little bit of injuries here and there, but with
Yeah,
that
young
big win against the
quarterback
Lions.
too.
Yep, young quarterback. You're still building over there. Then obviously you got the Lions, and who did I leave out? Did I say Packers already?
Yeah,
Packers, Bears, Vikings.
yeah, and you look at like, okay, who's going to get in the wild card? The NFC East doesn't really have any wild card candidates right now. The NFC South has the Panthers at 5-5. I don't see them making the wild card. So then you got the Rams and the Niners. Rams are 7-2, 49ers are 6-4. So they're obviously front runners for the wild card, but you also have Bears 6-3, Packers 5-3, and even the Vikings at 4-5. Like any one of those teams could be wild card or even overtake the Lions for the division. I mean, they're tied with the Bears right now. So yeah, it's anybody's division. It seems like the AFC, there's a little more disparity from the top teams, right? You think the Colts, you think even the Patriots this year,
Yeah,
Broncos, Chargers have looked pretty good. Um, it's been nice to see the Chiefs not in that conversation for once, but they're still 5-4.
yeah,
So
they're lurking. They're like
they're lurking.
Alabama. They're like that team that's always in the conversation, no matter how shitty they're playing. Um, you know what I mean? So you can't count them out quite yet. But yeah, to hear some other teams, some fresh teams in the AFC be brought into the conversation. But like so many of these other teams, and we've mentioned it, it's the case for so many of these teams where it's what version of this team are we going to get on any given night? And it's so much, sometimes it's a big question mark where we just don't know. So that's
Yep.
another element that's going to make it interesting, primarily for the AFC, but same with the NFC. It's really even more middle of the pack, anyone's division for the NFC. So I don't know. There's no clear cut top runners other than the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts feel, and maybe in a few weeks that's going to look a lot different. Is obviously, the whole Danny Dimes thing. Like, is he going to actually be good in the playoffs? We don't know. I mean, he didn't make the playoffs a lot with the Giants, right? So,
No shit. So it's where the puzzle pieces fit the best.
yep, 100%.
So it's a big factor. Good deal. Let's move on to the pro capper. Obviously, fantasy is beginning to wrap up. We've talked about it a little bit in the green room, and it's just one of those things that it's getting to that time of year and absolutely just killing everybody. And maybe it's close in the record scheme of things, but when you're looking at the standings, Rocco himself, the NFL guru himself, is sitting atop in the pro capper. I'm sitting down at fifth, which is probably where I belong, just with a couple tough weeks that we've had. But anyway, tell me a little bit about what has led you to be the leader of the pack in the pro capper this year.
Well, I mean, it is gambling at the end of the day, right? As much as we like to think of ourselves as
Yeah.
experts and all that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I lost Kittle early. I lost Neighbors for the season. Um, but I've been able to just really ride on some of my best players. HN obviously had the huge week last week. Egbuka has really been the sleeper pick that I needed him to be. But yeah, look at his points per week, man. I mean, he's been killing it this year. And he's been a risky guy because of injury. Like his injury history has been up and down because he's 5'9", 190, right? He's not this tank of a back.
Right.
So one wrong hit and he's down. JMO hasn't panned out, right? I mean, he had a good week on my bench last week because he's been on my bench all year because they haven't got him involved. Like I thought he was going to be taking that next step, but luckily I've been able to fall on Olave. So I picked up
Yeah,
Chris Olave with the Saints because everyone thinks, and I don't want to give away my whole playbook here, right? But
absolutely not.
but you look
I
at
mean, you can if you want.
Well, I'll just say that people ignore bad teams, right? In
Yeah,
fantasy. They look at a team like the Titans or the Saints. They ignore all their players. Like
that is true.
they
That
don't
is true.
exist to some people. So
Yeah,
you can get them late. I got Olave late. I forgot what the pick was. Um, but yeah, forgot a quick way to check that. But anyway, I think it was like a later round, like in the 9 to 12 range. So
I got him off waivers actually, my other league, because he was
yeah,
dropped as an extra, and he wasn't really producing for, a good half of the first half of the season, and, started producing, doing some good things, and I actually didn't even play him that much. I played him a couple times, and he was an asset for me, but yeah, definitely an unsung hero just because the Saints aren't really talked about.
yeah, yeah, and I've been just rotating in and out of that flex role. I picked up Johnson because look at his past few weeks; he's been solid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just came off a 20-pointer, and he's been double digits 3 of the 4 last weeks. So
Yeah, 2
he's been
tutties.
he's been getting more involved. They've had some injuries at the receiver position. So is he going to have another week like he had against New England? Based on the rest of the season, probably not. But can he at least contribute in a flex role, get me 10 points or more? That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Well, if the Bills play like they did last week, then, he might go for 35. And I got Baker as my quarterback. Actually, I got him on my bench right now. So let me see. I don't even know who I have. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, I got Drake May starting against the
Yeah,
Jets.
that's a good sleeper quarterback, man.
I like him.
And I wanted to take Stafford late in the draft, and the whole back injury thing was so overblown in the media, that I thought like he might be out for the year. Like that's when I was reading the articles and stuff before the season, I was like, man, Stafford, he might not even play. So I didn't even take a chance on him. He's been throwing nothing but tutties. Like
Yeah.
he's thrown like 23 touchdowns and no picks over the last. He hasn't thrown a pick since like week 3 or something.
I mean, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and especially when you gotta play against him, so
Right. Absolutely. Let's talk about Michael Pittman real quick. Obviously,
yeah,
hasn't didn't do great last week against
yeah,
Atlanta, but damn, he's been
3
putting up some good
pointers.
numbers.
Yeah, 3 20-point games and back to back to back, so yeah.
I
Um,
like Pittman.
yeah, I liked him too. I think you actually drafted him right before me, and
Oh, I did?
I was disappointed that you got him, I'm like, "Man."
Yeah. Well, it didn't seem to make too much of a difference, but yeah, just rapid fire, I guess. What other assets of your team has been leading to your success?
Yeah, Dobbins has been good. Obviously Olave. I usually keep 2 defenses. That's kind of a weird thing I do where I cycle
Huh,
out two defenses.
interesting.
Um I just like to play the matchups and kinda hoard them a little bit. So,
Interesting.
I did pick up Travis, hasn't done anything for me yet, but he is on the IR, so, um, he came off that really good week is when I scooped him up, and he hasn't played since, where he had that 24 points. Like, he was finally involved. Oh, fuck. Scratch
But
open
mid
but
to
the
high
solid.
teens, though,
Yeah,
a couple of those
exactly.
weeks and, a couple times nothing, but
Yeah,
he
and
must have been injured
he was
or
injured,
out.
yeah, he
Okay,
was out for a couple weeks.
that's what it is then.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, I risk it on a couple players. Obviously, B Don's been really good. I mean, obviously, I woulda wished I had taken Jonathan Taylor if he was available. I don't remember if he was taken first overall or not. I can't even remember our draft, but I'm assuming he was available because I was like the second or third pick. And so comparing the two, that's you obviously want the best one, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm in another league where um, I'm 7-3 in the other league, and I have McCaffrey, and it actually auto drafted. So it auto drafted my first 3 rounds because I totally had forgot, just totally forgot about the draft because it was a work league thing, and so it auto drafted me AJ Brown, trash, Devontae Adams, who's been really good, and Christian McCaffrey, who's been really good. So um, hard to complain with that. And then I picked the rest of the team. I got Alvin Kamara and some other people that have been up and down in that other league. But overall, I think I'm a solid fantasy football dude. But I've only won one league ever. I've gotten second a lot, third, fourth. Because it really, I mean, there is a lot of luck, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
if I get in the playoffs and then I lose my major player to injury, um, what do you do? I mean, sure, you can try to scrape on the waiver wire, but everyone's doing that at playoff time. So,
That's all you
um,
can do, especially with no
yeah,
trades. You got a trade lockout after whatever week you choose. So,
yep.
um,
But yeah, it's
yeah,
been fun, man. I enjoy fantasy. It's cool trying to predict like who's going to be the up and coming guys, right? I mean, if you can nail one of those per year, I feel like that's what separates somebody from being really good. Like if you can get somebody that's a sleeper rookie or even a second year player that might be overlooked, and is ready to have a breakout year. Maybe the offense is kind of coming to their own or whatnot. On the flip side, that can tank your team too. I mean, if you take a third round rookie receiver and they don't even get targeted till week 8, I mean, you could be cooked by then. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword.
yeah, big
Who do
time.
you got? Who do you got on your coattails that you're kind of worried about? I guess maybe not worried about what you're thinking about right now. So you obviously got Leighton. He took the league in the pro capper last year, and then Sam took second. I mean, you talk about it that it's luck. You say you've taken second a lot of times. I agree. I agree. It's luck. Uh, but I think there's a lot of skill, a lot of preseason intuition, and I call it fantasy IQ. If you have a high capacity in both of those categories, then you have a very great probability of making a run, at least making it to the playoffs when playoff time comes around. But you got Leighton, you got Sammy behind you, and then Anderson is close behind them. Who are you worried about the most, or who are you concerned about the most looking at this standings here?
Well, honestly, 2 through 5, man, like, all your guys' teams 2 through 5 are really good, and I feel like the records are only what they are because of how many good teams are in this league. Like, the top half of this league is very solid, and even some of the couple of bottom ones, I mean, every 500 team, can win any given week, and you look at, like, the points side of things, a lot of it's luck for me because I'm pretty sure I've allowed the least amount of points. Yeah, so I've allowed 1,114 points, which is easily the least in the league, right? So I'm catching everybody on a bad week, is kind of what's happening. But I've also forced um, the second most points. So I've forced the second most points, but I've also given up the least. So I've just kind of that's where the luck comes in, right? You're catching people on the right week. Um, But if you wanna be good, you gotta have a consistent point output. You can't have a team that's like 150 points, 60 points. You can't have all these
Right.
boom and bust players. You gotta have consistent dudes. Like, that's why, like, back when you have receivers like Wes Welker, Cooper Kupp, or somebody, like, whoever's I think your brother's got St. Brown. That's the kind of receiver you want, somebody that's gonna consistently just get targets and catches. Because even if he doesn't have a big game receiving, I mean, look at that. He got what, 58 yards and he still got 17 points,
I
you
mean,
know?
that's a lot of green too. I mean, look at all those. That's performance amongst against the field, right? In the same category.
Yeah, and at any
Most of
point
that
he
stuff.
can blow up and get you 40 points like he did in week 2. So,
Hmm.
um, that's like a really high floor. Obviously, St. Brown is like a top 3 receiver in the league, so it's kinda hard to just say, "Well, that's what you want for fantasy," but, um, you want a consistent productive player like that, though. Um
Right. A consistent producer.
Yeah, and sometimes you gotta really roll the dice on who you think's gonna be injured, man. Because I like, last year or the year before when Justin Jefferson was out most of the year, I could have taken CeeDee Lamb or somebody else, And I was like, "You know what? Justin Jefferson, he's never injured. I wonder if this is gonna be the year," you know? And I didn't trust my gut, and it was the year, and he was out most of the season, and next thing you know, my team's tanking.
Damn. See, that's where the luck.
So
I think that's where the luck comes in the most is the injuries.
oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, because like, if I get Malik Neighbors still on my team, right, I could easily be undefeated right now because he was getting 20, 30 points a week. But now I've been like cycling people in, like inconsistent receivers and flex guys that maybe get 6 points sometimes,
Yeah, and knowing who to play too, because you might have a couple guys that are kind of around the same caliber. Got guys on your bench and got guys that are playing points. Uh, you know, point projections are similar, though I don't really read too much into those. It's easy to read into those. A lot of people do that, and
Yeah.
that's why they're not good at fantasy.
Yep.
But looking at that, and then even a guy that is projected higher or significantly higher because they're going off touches, attempts, what have you. And then the other guy that was kind of an unsung hero hasn't really produced a lot this whole season. That's the guy that goes off that's sitting on your bench. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of
Yeah.
knowing who to play on any given week, who's going to be getting the most targets, and there's a lot of luck involved with that too. I mean, like you
Yeah.
said, there's a lot of truth to the fact that fantasy as a whole involves a lot of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like you can't reach for a bunch of players in the draft. Like as much as you can't like 100% rely on the rankings, you also can't just say, "Well, this guy's projected for round 7, I'm gonna take him in round 3 and hope for the best." Like there's a reason he's in round 7 based on historical stats, production, how they think the offense is gonna go this year. Because you gotta think too, a lot of these websites now, fantasy is a part of their sports gambling. So if you think about them wanting to control, the outcome a little bit of the gambling side of things, they're trying to get those dialed in as much as they can. Because if somebody bets on it, because you can bet like week to week on fantasy, you can just pick up a
Oh yeah,
team for like a week or even a couple players, and depending on what website, and you could just say, all right, this is my team for the week, and their cost or whatever their draft cost and all that stuff is going to be dependent